Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Meli, your always curious host, and today we have an absolutely fascinating topic: African languages. With me in the studio, I have two wonderful guests. Please give a warm welcome to Regine and Jayden.
Thank you, Meli. I'm so excited to be here. African languages are one of my favorite topics. There's just so much history and culture wrapped up in them.
Same here, Meli. I've traveled to a few African countries and I'm always amazed at how multilingual people are there. It's like they can switch between languages in the blink of an eye.
I'm glad you both share my enthusiasm. Let's jump right in. Our latest article, All You Need to Know About African Languages, mentions that Africa has between 1,500 and 2,100 languages as of 2025. That's incredible, right?
It's mind-boggling indeed. It means Africa is one of the most linguistically rich continents. In fact, some countries like Nigeria alone have over 500 languages.
And that's just one country. Imagine the cultural depth and variety there. You could spend your whole life in Nigeria alone and still not hear every local language.
Exactly. And interestingly, the article points out that despite this vast diversity, only 20 of the most spoken languages are used by roughly 45% of Africans. The rest are localized to specific communities or regions.
Yes. And in places like Northern Africa, Arabic tends to dominate, often at the expense of other indigenous languages. Meanwhile, in East or West Africa, people sometimes speak multiple local languages due to frequent travel or trade.
Speaking of origins, the article also discusses how the earliest African languages may date back 50,000 to 70,000 years, tracing to one ancestral mother tongue.
Right. A University of Auckland researcher, Quentin Atkinson, suggested that all modern languages might stem from this proto-language. It's fascinating how African languages show the greatest phonemic diversity, especially those amazing click languages with over 100 phonemes.
It's such a captivating idea that the catalyst for global human expansion included language. Imagine how crucial communication was back then, for survival and for building communities.
It's remarkable. The article even suggests that modern language may have originated just once, but that's still a matter of debate among linguists. Either way, Africa holds a key piece of linguistic history. Now, let's talk ancient tongues. The article gave us a list of some languages considered among Africa's oldest, like Egyptian Arabic, Ge'ez, Berber, Tamazight, and Coptic.
I was especially intrigued by Meroitic, the language of the Kingdom of Kush. It's undeciphered, which adds a layer of mystery. It's almost like the Rosetta Stone scenario all over again.
And how about Old Nubian? It was used in Christian Nubian kingdoms. We don't hear much about it nowadays, but it's over 1,000 years old.
All these languages come from different branches of the major African language families: Afro-Asiatic, Niger-Congo, Nilo-Saharan, and Khoisan. Each family has its own story to tell. The article also offered a table of African countries, capitals, and their number of languages. Regine, any favorites there?
Nigeria obviously stands out with a whopping 520 languages. Also, Cameroon with 277, and DR Congo with 214. These are massive numbers.
What's fascinating is that countries like South Africa have 31 official languages or recognized tongues, and that variety shapes national identity.
Agreed. Even a smaller country like Lesotho with 5 languages, or Cape Verde with 2 languages, still reflects a distinct cultural tapestry. So, let's pivot to the question: which African languages are the most spoken?
Well, Arabic ranks highest, especially in North Africa, with over 200 million speakers. Next up is Swahili, also exceeding 200 million, used in East Africa.
Right, And the article specifically highlights Swahili as not just one of the most spoken, but also the fastest growing African language. It's even recognized by the African Union and the East African Community.
Yes, and that 40% of Swahili's vocabulary is from Arabic due to historical trade connections.
I love how it unites so many people across borders: Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Mozambique. It's a powerful lingua franca.
From oldest to youngest, the article states that Afrikaans is considered Africa's youngest language, emerging in the late 17th century from Dutch dialects.
Yes, it got official recognition in 1925 and is now spoken by about 7 million people as a first language and 10 million as a second. It really shows how new languages form and evolve over time.
Sadly, we also have to talk about languages that have gone extinct or are on the brink of extinction.
The article mentions languages like Kwadi in Angola, which is extinct, and NU in South Africa, which has only one speaker left.
That's heartbreaking. Losing a language means losing cultural heritage, stories, traditions, even unique ways of seeing the world.
Exactly. The article stressed that if younger generations aren't learning these languages, their future is grim, but there is hope. The article highlights new projects in AI to preserve African languages. Jayden, I know you're a big tech enthusiast. Tell us more.
I found it really exciting that Nigeria launched its own multilingual LLM large language model for Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, Pidgin, Ibibio, and more. This initiative aims to build the largest dataset for Nigerian languages, ensuring they continue to thrive digitally.
We also have stories of people in the diaspora using apps like Duolingo to keep their mother tongues alive. And in Mali, there's a project called Robots Mali using AI to create storybooks in Bambara. It's amazing how technology can help bridge those gaps.
And then there's Batazia, founded by Cameroonian sisters who were frustrated at how African languages like Kiswahili were being overlooked by major platforms. Their platform is about authentic translations and preserving oral traditions in written form. We can't ignore the challenges, though. The article points out that many AI models struggle with African languages because the data sets are underrepresented or non-existent.
Yes, so it's not just a tech problem. It's also about how we gather data respectfully, involve communities, and ensure local cultures have a say in how their languages are digitized.
It's definitely a race against time. But I'm hopeful because more people, both within Africa and in the diaspora, are volunteering their skills and knowledge to keep these languages alive.
This has been such an enlightening conversation. We've covered a ton, from Africa's ancient languages to the most spoken and fastest growing to AI initiatives for preserving endangered tongues.
Yes, and remember, each African language carries stories passed down through centuries. Losing a language means losing those stories.
And with technology evolving so quickly, I believe we have real tools now to make sure that doesn't happen.
Absolutely. Thank you both so much for joining me today. Our show has taken a whirlwind tour of African languages. Hopefully, everyone listening is inspired to learn a few phrases themselves or maybe even contribute to these preservation efforts.
I know I am. I'm going to brush up on my Swahili right after this.
And I might go download one of those AI translation tools. Never hurts to have another language under your belt.
That's the spirit. Thank you again, Regine and Jayden. And thanks to our audience for tuning in. Stay curious, everyone. Kwaheri, which is goodbye in Swahili.
Kwaheri.
Kwaheri.